of Abraham. Obedience. Christ was not concerned with what one's physical lineage was or the boasting that came with it. His concern was obedience. Compare. John chapter 8. Abraham is our father, they answered. If you were Abraham's children, said Jesus, then you would do the things Abraham did. This is huge. Christ is saying here that anyone who does what Abraham did is considered the children of Abraham. Well, what did Abraham do? Genesis chapter 26. I will make your descendants as numerous as the stars in the sky, and give them all these lands, and through your offspring all nations on earth will be blessed, because Abraham obeyed me and kept my requirements, my commands, my decrees, and my laws. According to the words of Christ, those who obey God's commands are those who can truly call Abraham their father. Think about what he said later to the Jews, the physical descendants of Abraham. John chapter 10. The Jews gathered around him, saying, How long will you keep us in suspense? If you are the Christ, tell us plainly. Jesus answered, I did tell you, but you do not believe. The miracles I do in my Father's name speak for me. But you do not believe, because you are not my sheep. My sheep listen to my voice. I know them, and they follow me. Even those who may actually be descendants of Abraham, if they do not follow and obey God's commands, then they are not considered children of Abraham. Again, the focus of Christ was to bring his kingdom back together as one in the faith of Abraham. Not just together as one, but one in obedience to the Father. It truly makes no difference what tribe one may be from, or if they have no Hebrew heritage at all. This is why Paul said in 1 Timothy chapter 1, nor to devote themselves to myths and endless genealogies. These promote controversies, rather than God's work, which is by faith. Which is by faith, the faith that produces the obedience of Abraham. James chapter 2. Was not our ancestor Abraham considered righteous for what he did when he offered his son Isaac on the altar? You see that his faith and his actions were working together, and his faith was made complete by what he did. And the scripture was fulfilled that says, Abraham believed God, and it was credited to him as righteousness, and he was called God's friend. You see that a person is justified by what he does, and not by faith alone. One's genealogy did not guarantee salvation, for even when they left Egypt, there were foreigners who came along with Israel. Exodus chapter 12. A mixed multitude went up with them also, and flocks and herds, and a great deal of livestock. Numbers chapter 11. Now the mixed multitude who were among them yielded to intense craving. So the children of Israel also wept again, and said, Who will give us meat to eat? This mixed multitude is defined by God himself to be as children of Israel. And all are to follow the same law of God. Numbers 15. The community is to have the same rules for you and for the alien living among you. This is a lasting ordinance for the generations to come. You and the alien shall be the same before the Lord. The same laws and regulations will apply both to you and the alien living among you. Consider also Ruth. She was a Moabite, yet in coming into the faith, she considered Israel's God to be her God, and his ways to be her ways. What mattered then, and still today, is that we are walking in the faith of Abraham, the faith that produces the obedience of Abraham, obedience to God's law. It was in this that Paul saw many struggle.